Why won't you let me think? Whenever I feel like I'm on the right track and I am asking myself a question that's been bugging me and holding me back for so long. It's been something that I've been focusing on and over analyzing. It's a decision I need to make, and it's technical and it requires analysis and it requires a cared and considered choice. And in this case, it's about how do I go about starting to publish my videos out there, my content out there. What's the best platform to use and how do I go about it? Keeping in mind, my purpose is to maximize its success rates in terms of social traction, maximizing returns in profit from monetization, and that the workflow is easy as possible and that I don't have to do any kind of editing, at least to begin with. So all of these desires, I don't really know which to pick. Whether to have, I could create short form, I could create long form. Most likely I'll be creating a whole bunch of different short forms like I am making with these voice notes. So ultimately I want to take this content but have it visualized. So I'll record myself with a camera instead, and I'll learn to look at, stare down and talk to the lens. Anyway, so I want to continue these voice notes along the lines of how I talk or resource or close form, all of this stuff. I want to be able to start broadcasting all of this content, and I want to find out by asking myself, by analyzing it, what's the best course of action that ticks all those boxes. And I still don't know. And a lot of the times I have researched into Patreon, for example, and Mighty Networks, for example, and they're both quite expensive to get into. And that's definitely an investment of a lot of time and effort into creating the whole video productions and having everything kind of putting your eggs in one basket on one platform, because it takes a lot of work. It takes a long time for you to gain any traction, because those platforms, they have to actively promote themselves as a platform that typically not that many people have heard of. They're doing their part to try and grow their platforms in popularity and to be in the social stratosphere. It's just that they're a bit held back, I think. The world stage is YouTube and social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram and X. So they are definitely where the world is watching. So it's about then it's my mind starts to go blank at some parts. It hits like a boundary. My mind can't it's kind of stopped in its tracks somehow. And this happens quite frequently. I'm more aware of these boundaries and these limitations of thought and of emotion. And this is another example of one that I've just perceived. I've noticed that even asking myself a straightforward question, I still don't know. Even after looking into the platforms and doing a bit of research and knowing that, yes, maybe it's about ticking off all the smaller questions until the bigger question as a whole is evident. But I can't seem to make that calculation in my head. At some point, if I ask myself a question that's too broad and still requires a calculated amount of effort across many different areas, then my mind just starts to shut off, and it can't be bothered anymore. It's too much effort. So maybe my mind is lazy up until a certain point, but that doesn't explain, because if I go, okay, fine, my mind is getting a bit tired, let's give it a rest. Let's just have a change of scenery. Let's go for a walk. Let's go to bed, let's do something else, right? And then I come back to it when I'm feeling refreshed and I'm feeling ready for it. My mind still has a block in the same area. I'm not able to just pick up where I left off. Wherever I started feeling, like my mind was shutting itself down and shutting itself off, it's more like it's just a blockade. It's a barrier. It's like you come upon a couple of bouncers and they're just standing in front of a doorway, and for some reason they're just like, walk on, this doesn't concern you anymore, just like keep walking. And so it's turned away, you're tired, go home. It's kind of like that. So because it can't be down to tiredness, because if I try to do that when I'm fresh minded and I still meet that it's like it's my override. It's an override from my mind. I can't consciously will myself to answer a simple question, make a simple decision, because for some reason maybe I feel like it's too complicated. I give myself an excuse, or I give myself some reason to procrastinate, and I dismiss it, or maybe I don't really know why. Maybe I can't explain why I can't think right now, and so I get this sense where is there some mechanism within me that has override over my thoughts, and it can actually stop me from thinking more about any particular situation. It just seems bizarre, but I have noticed this happen within me on different topics at a certain point. And I thought maybe it's a mechanic that's part of an element that's not within my conscious control. So yeah, what if it's some kind of limiting belief or a fear? I'm just finding all of these edges, these different entrances of the boundary. It's as if I've been in a maze and I meet this wall, this entrance, but it's guarded and it's unique. I have to understand the answer behind this. It's like a riddle, you know. Your challenge is to understand the key that unlocks this path that allows you to go beyond the boundary and perhaps see what's behind that inhibition. And I think this maze of our own journey to self-awareness and awareness in general is going to be full of these different secret entrances that take us outside of the maze. It's like they are part of a great wall that surrounds a 2D maze. And when you reach the edges of these walls, all along this wall that encircles this 2D maze, it's like perhaps you'll find the answer you were looking for if you are ready for it. If you're ready to be taken to the next stage in that direction. So one of the paths through the maze right now is future related, is a decision I have to make, or I feel as though I have to make, which platform to begin on, which is the best option that's going to tick all the boxes. I'm so caught up in that. I'm so caught up in the immediacy of wanting to make money first. And of course, I'm shit scared about putting content out there, broadcasting myself, intentionally trying to launch myself into the public eye and expose all of my vulnerable, wacky thoughts and concepts and desires and thoughts. I'm going to be making myself incredibly vulnerable. And yeah, I have been very, very scared. I don't think that I've been holding myself back purely just because of fear. I think there are other mechanics that's maybe deeply seated, and it'll be helpful for my growth, for my ability to actually break through the various inhibitions, realize myself, and go forward with intention and not with discomfort. Who wants to do that? No one wants to make themselves uncomfortable. That's kind of the conundrum here, isn't it? I feel as though I must push myself outside my comfort zone in order to achieve and break old patterns and to prove to myself that I can do what I want, that I be what I want and have what I want. Even in small ways, I need to be able to prove that to myself because I believe it to be true. I've always felt it to be true. It's just my realities have never stepped up to my own expectations of who I am, who I could be. So these are very much behind every one of my thoughts and decisions recently and going forward. I've got so much to prove to myself. I don't really have anything to prove to anyone else. So this isn't the ilk of my inhibition. It's not purely just out of fear of judgment of others. I judge myself way more, and I always have. I've always been very capable of adapting, picking up things, learning things, applying things, understanding things. I've always been able to do them very quickly, whatever it is I apply myself to. And I usually get bored quickly because things come too easily. That's not to say I don't put in work. I put in work, and I'm very passionate about various things. I'm going off the line, but is it something that's holding me back? Is it something that's not allowing me to think and utilize my mental capacity? Is it something like that has lack of control? Or could it simply be that I don't know the answers to the questions? And it could simply be, well, I just need to know more. So I just need to do a little bit more research about all the different elements involved. And maybe I do need to go off one by one and tick off all the criteria. If I investigate further, I look at the pros and cons of YouTube. I look at the pros and cons of using Mighty and whatever it is, and make a big list, because I keep going round and round and round in circles, and then my mind just switches off and it doesn't want to think about it anymore. But it still needs to be done. It still needs to be answered. It feels similar to procrastinating then, because my mind just doesn't want to think about it, and then it uses different distractions to just avert me or divert me. And send me back into the maze, all dazed and confused, with a foggy memory about where I just was. Yeah, that's kind of how it feels. So I still don't know, but that just made me curious. I thought perhaps there was something behind it.